and she will be loved. I know I can't sing to save my life. That's why I'm a failed YouTuber. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on X Twitter at Movies TV Mad. You lucky people. You can also follow me on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. A very warm welcome to Monday's edition of the Movies TV Mad Daily. It's the beginning of a fresh week. Well, actually, Sunday is the beginning officially of the week. Luckily, then, I'm actually filming this video on a Sunday morning. And I'm not doing well, everyone. I've been on the toilet all day, all night, all morning. Oh my God, it's been terrible. I've got a diarrhea. I know you don't want to know, but I feel bloody terrible. So please bear with me. Now, the title of the video is Why I Hate CGI. I really want to get into this conversation because I used to love it, but now I hate it. But first, I want to readdress a disaster of a week for DC Studios and James Gunn's Superman movie. On a week, he revealed the brand new costume worn by David Corenswet. Some people with the cope saying, well, it's relatable. He's like a normal human being getting dressed before he goes to work. But he's not a normal human being. He's Superman, not everyday man at the end of the day. Now, as I've said, I'm not willing to, do thumbs up, thumbs down on the costume until we get a proper look at it, but it hasn't been good. And yes, there could have been a better photo of this costume. Better photo or not, the elephant in the room is the collars. I mean, it's not the end of the day. Look, it wasn't a good first shot. It hasn't gone down well. I gave you an exclusive video talking to you that WB are worried about this production. They were never really happy with him, scheduling Peacemaker 2 on, at the same time, principal photography on Peacemaker 2 at the same time as principal photography on a Superman movie. It doesn't make sense to anyone. He's rushing off James Gunn at weekends to work on that series. It is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. Something's got to give because his heart isn't in Superman. His heart is in his Suicide Squad universe. They should have let him cook. As I said many months ago, they should have allowed him to cook with the Suicide Squad universe on Max, never appointed him co-CEO of DC Studios, and never pressured him into directing this movie or even writing this movie. A few videos ago, I explained to you how they said to him, if you don't agree to write a Superman movie, you won't get to make the Suicide Squad. Exactly the carrot they dangled at Joss Whedon when they kind of got him, in a way, forced him to do Justice League. And look how that ended up. If you do Justice League and you recycle this man's movie and colour it in, then you may get your dream movie, a Batgirl movie. Never happened for Joss. Ruined his career, exposed by Ray Fisher, and I just think the whole situation is absolutely insane if you ask me. Having a TV show, running off to it at the weekends and doing, and making a Superman film, but he's not really invested in the Superman film. Do you remember what he said when he announced he was directing Superman Legacy, as it was titled at the time? Peter was pressuring me to do it for a long time. Red flag. I didn't want to commit to something that I'd be working on for two years that maybe isn't something I'm into, or whatever he said. He didn't sound like a man who really wanted to make a Superman movie, but he was pressured into doing it. He really wants to be there 24/7, working on Peacemaker 2. And this is the truth. Hardly a great arrangement for someone making a Superman film that has to make over $1 billion. Who knows how much Zaslav wants this movie to make? Maybe he wants it to make around $2 billion. I don't know. And already they've failed the first test, the costume reveal. To be fair, most modern day Superman films fail that anyway. Not everyone loved the Man of Steel costume, and I don't think anybody loved the Superman Returns costume. But anyway, it is what it is. We'll see what the film is, a year in July. But there are red flags there, and I still don't understand how he scheduled Peacemaker principal photography at the same time as Superman. Doesn't make any sense to me. So I thought I'd get that out there. Now let's talk about the main point of today's Movies TV Mad Daily. I want to explain to you why I hate CGI, why I hate the new volume technology. When CGI came out there and digital effects came out there, I thought it was magic. I thought it was amazing. I was obsessed. The more CGI, the better. And I was fucking wrong. Exactly the same thing is going to happen with artificial intelligence, AI. It'll be a bit here, a bit there, then it'll be all over the shop. And by the time you know anything, there'll be artificial intelligence cameras, there'll be AI cameras, there'll be everything. Maybe there is now in filmmaking. I'm not fucking sure. So why do I now hate CGI? Well, you know what? And I mean, it's really the industry's fault for letting us have BTS on DVD, Blu-rays and 4Ks and things like that. Because you see a lot of what happens behind the scenes and how things used to be made. This used to be an art form. Making pictures, making television and film used to be an art form. Let's get something absolutely clear. Pressing a few buttons and creating computer-generated images and high-res cameras it's not art. It is not art. Let's go back and think about how they used to make films. They used to use matte paintings because they didn't have no CGI for backgrounds, right? So they used to use beautiful matte paintings, what they used to call crayon effect. And there was a huge department. There were huge departments just for matte paintings, for miniatures, for prosthetics, a whole prosthetics department. You know what? Prosthetics are genius. A good prosthetic designer or designers can give you a suit, a prosthetic suit, which is just as convincing, more convincing as CGI. Here's another problem for me in terms of CGI. You know it's not real. Even when the CGI is perfect and stunning, you know it's not really there. But a matte painting is more convincing. A miniature is more convincing. Let me ask you a controversial question. When you look at all the ways in different films that Superman has flown, which one to you is the most convincing? Is it the Dick Donner movie? Is it Superman 2 and 3 and all? Let's not talk about 4. That was shit and cheap. I get that. Anyway, let me ask you. So was it Superman 78? Was it Man of Steel? Was it Superman Returns? You know as well as I do, the most stunning way Superman has ever flew on the screen has got to be in Superman 78, Superman 2 and Superman 3 as well. They nailed on the flying. I mean, you may not like the Supergirl movie, but even her flying in that Helen Slater, Je ne sais, Supergirl movie. The flying's more convincing than it is in the modern day Superman movies. This is not me criticising Zack Snyder or Bryan Singer or trying to create a war between, Snyder groupies or Bryan Singer groupies. And I'm not a Dick Donner groupie. I'm not a groupie. I'm a fan of art. I'm a fan of the art form. So as far as I'm concerned, let's not get it twisted. Superman 78, the flying in there, is more convincing, more beautiful and stunning than any CGI flying I've ever seen. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? Because today's directors, they do their drawings. They're very artistically minded. They do a lot of things themselves. But here's the problem with the modern day movie director. They are more interested in how a film looks than how their cast perform. They mostly are not great directors of actors, great directors of people. Dick Donner wasn't a visual or technically minded director. He knew that if he brought the best visual minds, the best prosthetic teams, the best matte painting department, the best miniatures, the best carpenters. John Barry, one of the best production designers, worked on Star Wars and Superman 78. He's the one who came up with the concept for the Fortress of Solitude. And he wanted it to look like an ice castle. And he was a genius. You know, he come up with the crystal idea on Krypton. This wasn't CGI. This was proper work. You know, building miniatures, you know, crown effect map paintings. This is art. Pressing a few buttons, everyone, on a computer is an art. It makes me laugh when they say, I hear the term VFX artists. They're not artists. They're pretty, you know, they work really hard. I respect what they do, but they are not artists. The way it used to be done with the miniatures and map paintings and the prosthetics, that is proper design and that is proper art. What we're getting today is an art. It's funny when I hear the term digital map painting. Well, if it's fucking digital, you know, how can it be a map painting? It's a contradiction in fucking terms, isn't it? Let's be honest about this. Let's hit it home. The industry has lost the art. It's no longer an arts and crafts industry. When you look at Clark in the North Pole in Superman 78, most of that, it's all on the soundstage, by the way, and it's all miniatures and it's all map paintings and it's stunning. Don't tell me you don't think that looks real, because it fucking looks real. And I think it would look more real than that being done digitally or being done via CGI, if that's the term that you understand more. So I am sick and tired of CGI, you know, and as I say, it's fake. Even when it looks good, you know it's fake. And one of the problems with me, CGI should have been something that just touches up things that you can't do manually, physically, but it's become an arm of VFX departments now. You know, I don't think that CGI should be used for so much. I mean, back in the day, you know, they used to go on location and film outside buildings. Today, they don't go on location and film outside buildings mostly. They do sometimes. But they actually design buildings and houses and outside offices with CGI. CGI buildings, everyone. This is where we are today. So as I say, the work and the craft and the art from the art form has gone. We have lost it. Doing things the way they used to do it is more expensive. I think it is more expensive and it takes more time. But if something's worth doing, it's worth doing well. But it's a business, Mick. They don't want to spend money. Yes, but when they used to do it well, the old ways, they used to make more money. They're not actually, maybe they are spending less money on CGI in the way it's done today, but they're not making more money. Not anymore. They have ruined their own industry. They have taken the craft and art out of the industry, and it's not there anymore. So this is why I hate CGI. I'd love to know in the comments down below what you think about what I'm saying, because there'll be those of you who'll be standing in defense of CGI. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. CGI has taken the imagination of watching movies and TV. Because before, when there wasn't CGI, you had to imagine a bit more. Now you're spoon-fed what everything looks like. There's no place for the imagination either. And for me, that's very, very sad. Doctor Who is a fine example of this. Classic Who had really, really low production values. Not that their values were low, just that they didn't have the budget. You know, they were making things in cupboards and stuff, weren't they? It was very basic. But the concept was so high. The idea of Doctor Who was so brilliant that because you didn't have the CGI to show it to you, you had to use your imagination. And that's the whole point of children's television. That's what children's television should actually be. To allow them, give them the avenue to use their imaginations. They don't need to use their imaginations anymore because CGI has done it all for them. And that is part of the problem, my friends. And, you know, and this is where we are today. And it's very, very sad. The overuse of CGI is a problem to me. If I had my own studio, I'd barely use CGI. I would have map painting departments, miniature departments, prosthetic departments as well. No question about that. Going back to the way things used to be done. Sometimes modern sophistications are better than the old ways. I don't want to go back to the old ways because I want nostalgia. It's not about that. But the old ways in terms of making movies and television were the better ways. And it's as simple as that. And I agree. When CGI first came out, it looked amazing. And now I'm bored. The overuse of it, it looks so fake. You know it's not real. That's the problem, everyone. And that's my problem with it. That's why I don't like it. Sorry about the brightness in here today. It's kind of going weird, isn't it, every time I move? It's the sun. It's so strong. I shut one set of blinds. If I shut the other, we'll be in darkness. So we just have to continue. But yeah, I want to see a cap on CGI in films and television. Because most of it today is not as good, maybe as it once was anyway. Because of the rushing. Because the entertainment industry has just become an empty shell of a conveyor belt. Someone made a point on X-Twitter this very morning saying the thing missing from those first two episodes of Doctor Who we saw, Space Babies and The Devil's Code, was depth. There had no substance to it. Just like the other four, the four not so specials that RTD did recently as well. No depth, no nothing. This is from the guy who gave us Turn Left, and now we're getting mundane shit. And that's where we are today. So I think I would love to see a whole film. Bin. Just one film. Bin. CGI as an experiment. Use matte paintings, miniatures, prosthetics. I would like to see that, to see the difference. Yes, it takes longer. There's no question. It's more expensive. I get it. But it's a better result. If you bring back these artists to do this kind of work, you will see better films. Prosthetics are better than CGI. Great prosthetics are much better than CGI. Matte paintings are much better than the new volume technology. It's another technology they've introduced now, this volume. I don't like it. It's shit. And we're using all this fake shit in entertainment today. And does it make the films any better? We just had a Planet of the Apes movie with mocap. And everyone's going, oh, it looks amazing, man. Doesn't it look amazing? Not really. We all know how they do it. And I tell you what, you get a talented prosthetic person to make a prosthetic ape suit. It's going to look even better than the mocap. I guarantee you of that. But these days, directors have got all these new toys, all these buttons, and it's all they're interested in. And what happens is, because they're so obsessed with the visual portion of making a movie, the acting isn't as strong as it can be. A bad acting performance in a movie or television show is the director's fault, not the actor's fault. You're there to make sure you communicate and convey what you want from that actor. You've got to motivate a performance from that said actor. And they're not really doing that. They're so focused on how a movie looks, and that's the problem. And obviously, the better the actor, maybe the lack of having a good director of actors on the set or on location doesn't matter, because some actors can actually direct themselves, but that's rare. A director is there for that reason. Back in the day, a director was there for the actors, not to make, directors have become more technically, minded and gifted today, and they're so obsessed with having great CGI and, sandworms and shit like that. The performances are not focused on as much because it's only natural. No one can create the visual effects they do today and focus on the acting at the same time. It is not an easy situation to pull off everyone. And we can see that. And I think it's hurt entertainment a great deal. So I would like CGI to be used at the very at the very most as least as possible. Because I think we're coming to a stage where people are fed up with it. I always hear people complaining about too much CGI and battles. Now, years gone by, I used to go, why do you care if it's CGI? I used to get annoyed at people complaining about CGI. I suppose I'm annoying some people moaning about it. But there's a lot of people who don't like the overuse of CGI. And I'll repeat it again. You know, it's not real. Make a film properly, the old ways. You know, it's very interesting watching the behind the scenes features of A Wizard of Oz. They used, I think, a 6-foot Muslim sock as the funnel, as the tornado. Have you ever seen that film? You've seen the tornado in that film. 1938 they made that film. I think they did that effect in 1939. 1939, and it still looks outstanding. The VFX, the visual effects on The Wizard of Oz are groundbreaking, as they are on Superman 78. Old-fashioned physical techniques, mostly in camera, using, side projectors and things like that, and wind machines, just basic things like that. But it's the basic things that look more convincing. And I think the invention of CGI has really hurt film, has really hurt television. There's something unnatural about CGI, if you ask me. And I think we can all see that, but the industry have found an easy, lazy way to create effects. And I don't think they will ever go back to the old ways. They'll call it progress. They'll call me someone old-fashioned who can't get with the sophisticated times. Well, I disagree. I think the way they used to do special effects is much better. And I think you can still use digital stuff. You can still use CGI, but not as much as they're using it today. I think they basically retired matte paintings. They basically retired miniatures as well. And as I say, they're a better way of doing things, a more genuine way of doing things. And, sometimes we have to look at the old ways and say, maybe we're doing it wrong. Maybe those old ways are not bad. And they were never bad. They were amazing. What George Lucas did with Star Wars 77. I mean, you watch that movie today and it looks sensational. And I know there's some CGI introduced into the original trilogy, but I'm not talking about that. I mean, look, he should never have gone back and put that CGI stuff in. It was wrong. We all know it. And, it's not the end of the world. It's not a disaster. But, those films were made, in a lot of ways, in camera. And it almost broke George Lucas and his team. But as I say, back then, these directors were bringing in the best technical visual effects people, the best matte painters, the best prosthetic teams. And while they focused on directing the actors, maybe not George Lucas so much, but Dick Donner was a great director of actors. That was his strength. And the visuals were left to other people. And just look how it worked out. He didn't do his own art. He wasn't doing his storyboards. He wasn't doing his own storyboards. They didn't really do that back then. George Lucas didn't do his own storyboards. I know a lot of directors, people like James Gunn, Zack Snyder, do their own storyboards, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's so amazing. I'd rather you focus on directing your actors, right? And let somebody else do that. But the role of the director today has changed in a lot of ways, and maybe not for the better. And it's become more of a visual medium. I mean, obviously, film has always been a visual medium. But when the visual medium becomes more important than the performances of the most important thing on your soundstage, on location, the actors, well, hello, Houston, we've got a huge problem. And you can see the blandness within entertainment today, whether it be film or television. It's there. And I hear people saying, oh, that's a bad actor, that's a bad actor. There's no such thing as a bad actor. But there is such a thing as a bad director, a lazy director who's overly focused on their visuals rather than the performance they're their cast are delivering. I see it all the time. It's obvious to me. But back in the day, even if you go back to the 30s, you know, you can see that the directors were there to direct the actors. You know, for example, MGM, who made The Wizard of Oz, they had a matte painting department. They had a prosthetic department. You know, they had people doing miniatures. That wasn't the director's responsibility, you know, to worry about the visuals. You know, there were departments there and they did excellent work. But today, the directors seem to be everywhere, don't they? They spend you know, they're there with the actors and they're there with the visuals. You know, how can you make a good movie with great performances? How can you focus on your actors' performances if you're worried how the CGI is going to look? You've got the green screen, you've got the mocap. You know, you've got a bunch of actors in a green screen room. They don't know what the fuck's going on. So as a director, you have to be an even better communicator than you normally would be. You're in this fucking green screen room and you have to explain to the actors what's going on. And a lot of the times, the actors are fucking confused. That's why it's so shit when you see it. When you see the CGI, it may look okay, but half the time the actors look confused and don't even seem like they're really where they're supposed to be. But if you put them in an actual proper room, and you had matte paintings there, and you had miniatures there, then you give your actors something to work with. People say to me, well, acting is about pretending, you know, picking up a glass of water. Yes, I get it. But pretending to drink an invisible glass of water, let's do it, right? It's better for me to do it in a room like this, right? Pick up my glass. Oh, I haven't drunk for ages. Oh, wow. Now I need a piss. Only joking. But if I was in a green screen, it takes the humanity out of it, doesn't it? That's an interesting thing, isn't it? You imagine that. You're an actor and you're on a green screen and you're acting in a green screen. I mean, I feel sorry for these people and I admire these people, but I'm sure the actors hate it themselves. They always say in the behind the scenes footage, oh, it's so fun working in these green screen rooms. It's not fucking fun at all. It's not, because you're not on a set. You don't know what's going on. And what they have to do a lot is keep on looking at the previews. And we've all seen previews before. It don't look fucking real. It don't put you there. You know, you need something. You need a ballpoint figure to know what you're fucking doing. So I think the industry is never going to go back to the old ways. I think it's wrong. I think that the old ways are the best ways, and it's taken something away from film. It's taken away that verisimilitude, a word Dick Donner used to use. We spoke about the flying from Superman 78. Nobody has yet to make Superman fly better, and they will not, using CGI. It'd be very interesting how James Gunn gets Superman to fly. Now, we saw some flying in Guardians 3, and nobody was impressed with that. So we'll see if he can do a better job. Bit of a mess over there on the Superman movie. A very worried studio, because this is where we are with entertainment today. Because everything, my friends, is just a bait and switch. I said this when I was talking about Doctor Who yesterday. Oh, we're doing a Beatles episode. Or the Beatles are going to be in it. Oh, but no Beatles music. You know, we'll keep on bragging about having this Disney money, but yeah, the Beatles won't be singing the song. It's better like that, because we're just going to say that some lunatic, some campy lunatic took music away. Just to shape the fact that they're not allowed to use Beatles music. Why do a Beatles episode if you can't fucking use Beatles music? And this is what the industry has become. It has no substance. And that's what CGI has brought to the making of movies, the making of television, the telling of stories. At first we were told it's just a little tool to amplify certain situations. But it's not anymore. It's deeper than that. It's not just being used for that point anymore. It's not just to put a paint in a crack there, or garnish this or garnish that, which is how actually CGI should be used. They kept on using it more and more and more. I agree, when Peter Jackson used it in the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, it looked good. you had mocap characters, in those free films. I get it that it worked at the time. But you've got to be very careful because it takes certain people to be able to use it properly. And it's an interesting technology. But maybe it's a technology that needs to take a back seat. Let me know what you think. I'll see you again tomorrow.